Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me once again today. My name is General Confusion, and this is Total War Warhammer 2. And this is my first, I think, High Elf replay. I am playing against the Dark Elves. I do not have much experience with High Elves, so you will have to forgive me a little bit in this battle, because, let's be honest, I don't know exactly how they work. I've played against them a number of times, so I kind of know how they work from the other side, but playing as them is a new experience to me. So, when I came into this battle, I was looking at the High Elf versus Dark Elf matchup, and I was thinking, you know, my elite infantry probably not going to do too well, just because it relies so heavily on armor, and the enemy has all these dark shards. So I really needed to, I was thinking about, one, the ability to shut down the enemy ranged power, and two, the ability to do damage to their elite melee units before they got to me, because the Dark Elves have a lot of very dangerous elite infantry. Not quite as good as the High Elves, unit for unit, but a little bit cheaper, and they have some abilities the High Elves just don't have, like the Witch Elves with their Rampage ability, and that kind of thing. So, my army list, I have taken 4 spearmen in the front, all chevroned up to give them very, very high leadership. And I don't anticipate they will kill much, but I anticipate they will stay alive for quite some time. Behind them, I have them backed up with 2 Lothern Sea Guard and 2 units of regular archers, the ones without light armor, because that just seems like kind of a waste. Behind the archers, I have 2 Eagle Claw bolt throwers. They're not very long range as artillery goes, but they have this multi-shot ammunition thing, which means they can do a ton of damage versus infantry with their 16 separate projectiles. And most of that damage is armor piercing. So I am hoping to use these. My goal with those was to target the elite Dark Elf infantry or the Dark Shards, whichever, and destroy them before they could come into range. I have them backed up with 2 White Lions of Trace, or Crace, something or other. I think it's Trace. For armor piercing damage, and because they do have 30% missile resistance, so they're actually quite resilient against missiles. I have taken Teclis as my lord, and he has almost everything, because let's be honest, everything was cool. He has the Bound Fiery Convocation, the Potion of Chiroi, Regrowth, Flock of Doom, Flaming Sword of Ruin, Chain Lightning, Net of Amatok, Greater Arcane Conduit, Kindle Flame, Wild Heart, and the Shield of Safari. So I was hoping, I took too many spells on him. I should have cut it down because I don't have the magic to use all of those in one game. I have a unit of Dragon Princes, which I have kind of hidden back here in the woods, kind of hoping to use them as a countercharge unit, and I have 1 Ethilmar Chariot, because once again, my thought process was, alright, I've got to shut down the ranged units, so I need something that can put a lot of pressure on his Dark Shards. My opponent, I'll put this in slow motion here, my opponent has brought 1 Cold One Knight to fend off my cavalry, a large line of infantry. This is where most of his money is. He has 2 Witch Elves, 2 Harganeth Executioners, 1 Black Ark Corsair, and a Death Hag not on the chariot, just an infantry Death Hag, which is an interesting choice. You don't see the Death Hag without the Blood Cauldron very often. But looking at her, she still has very good melee stats, a very impressive bonus versus infantry. She still has Witch Brew, so she can give units a buff and make them rampage, and pretty good all around, although very low health and very low armor. So it'll be difficult to keep her alive. He is led by Malekith on Seraphon, and Malekith has taken, come on Malekith, no, Malekith. Stand Your Ground, Gaze of Malice, Soul Stealer, Word of Pain, Chillwind, and Power of Darkness, plus his Noxious Breath, and the Destroyer. So we can use that to increase my ability recharge, as well as Spiteful Conjuration. And then his ranged power consists of 4 units of Dark Shards with shields. So, my Reaver Bolt Throwers are opening up. The first target they saw was these Witch Elves, so they're putting some shots in on the Witch Elves. Witch Elves aren't a great target because they are in loose formation and they're not armored. So as soon as they come in range, I'm going to be switching over to fire at the Harganeth Executioners, which are the unit that I most want to die. If these guys get to my infantry line, I am lost, because my spearmen cannot stand up to Harganeth Executioners whatsoever. So dropping shots on the Black Ark Corsairs, the Harganeth Executioners, just kind of indiscriminately doing damage to the lines. I see his Cold Ones coming out, so I'm pulling my Dragon Princes over to counter them, and my Chariot is going to start moving as well. I'm putting some arrow fire on Malekith since he is coming close. I don't anticipate doing a ton of damage, and he gets a fantastic little blast. By the way, Blood and Gore is in the game. He gets a fantastic little blast on my archers, does a ton of damage, but you know what? I'll take this trade. I'm doing, his infantry is kind of blobbing up as he comes forward with the archers, so I'm getting a lot of good damage off the Reapers. He's pulling Malekith away to try and stop my chariots. It's not going to go too terribly well, because the chariots are fast enough, they can kind of just dodge Malekith's charge. You see here, they've taken no damage whatsoever, and now they're going to be able to swing around and go for the archers. My archers are now firing into the Black Ark Corsairs. While they do have armor, they don't have shields, so they're very, very vulnerable to this. Teclis has dropped a net, and he gets a big blob of valuable infantry locked up right there. Here come the chariots, in towards the Dark Shards. Chase him down, boys. Chase him down. This is what I was hoping for. The Dark Shards are running instead of shooting. And they get a nice charge into the rear of the Dark Shards and start doing a ton of damage immediately. He's flanking around with his infantry. This unit of Lothran Seaguard pulled forward because they were on an attack order to Malekith, so now they are running, but he's exposing the flank of his Witch Elves to my archer fire and getting torn apart, so that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Over here, my Dragon Princes are kind of sitting still at the moment, which isn't ideal, but his Dark Shards are taking blistering arrow fire from the Lothran Seaguard. In comes some of the Hargoneth Executioners. I'm going to move my White Lions to intercept. My chariots have busted through the middle of this pocket, and this unit of Hargoneth Executioners is gone already, so that's fantastic. My Dragon Princes are getting a lovely charge off on the Dark Shards, who pulled out a little bit too far, and they're going to just rack up the kills in a big, big hurry. Over here, my White Lions are, of course, losing to the Executioners, but they're doing decent damage. His Death Hag has gotten into my infantry. I'm trying to get that archer to fire at them. It's not going terribly well, but the Hargoneth Executioners now take a nasty hit from that bound fiery convocation, and I'm sending in a unit of spearmen to hold them back. Malekith is dropping spells on me. Meantime, the Witch Elves over here caught my Lothran Seaguard and routed them off, but they're very, very badly damaged, so hopefully that will be enough. My other Lothran Seaguard are lining up to fire at the Death Hag. These White Lions are advancing to get into this pocket and to try to take out the Cold One Knights, who are currently wiping out my Dragon Princes. The Dragon Princes have done very well. They've more than paid for themselves. The Aethelmar Chariot is also coming in, just to do a little bit of damage. Drop a nice little flock of doom onto the Cold One Knights to finish taking them apart. Teclis, unfortunately, I did not notice this at the time. Teclis has moved way forward, and now Malekith is going after him. That was hugely unfortunate. I did not plan for that. I did not want that. My Reaper Bolt Thrower is still just going. They're laying fire on these Dark Shards and doing a nasty bit of work. My Dragon Princes have pulled back, still alive. The Aethelmar Chariot still going, just the last two. Teclis is trying to flee, but Malekith popped Destroyer on him, which means I cannot use the Potion of Chiroi. I can't heal him. I really, really want to, and I can't. Over here, these Witch Elves are coming back into the fight. These Hargoneth Executioners still going strong, tons of kills, but they are being taken out. My White Lions have caught some of his Dark Shards, and down here, over here, I try my best to intercept with the Lothran Seaguard, but to no avail. Teclis is being driven off the field, and Malekith, I think, is about to dive bomb him and finish him off for good. Yep, there it goes, and Teclis is gone. So that's a problem. But, overall, still doing alright. My formation is still intact. My Dragon Princes have gotten back into the Dark Shards, racked up another 30 kills in a big hurry. They've done all right. They've taken out a lot of the ranged firepower. And my main formation still more or less intact. The Eagle Claws are still online. My archers are still online. These Witch Elves are getting wrecked by archer fire despite mopping up my White Lions over there. Malekith is now coming in to try and shut down my ranged power, but the fact of the matter is, he doesn't have a whole lot left to take advantage of it. The way the engagement has gone, most of his infantry is destroyed or pushed way, way back. So all he's got here is Malekith and this one unit of Witch Elves that is almost dead. My spearmen out here are making sure that Death Hag does not return to the fight. These White Lions I should be pulling back because they could be very, very useful, but instead they're chasing a few Dark Shards into infinity and beyond. My one Eagle Claw is routing, but my other Eagle Claw is still in the game, miraculously missed by that chill wind. Malekith is now surrounded by spearmen and being pummeled with arrow fire, so he's taking quite a bit of damage. He gets into my archers right there, which is unfortunate, but the Eagle Claw is just laying down fire on these rallying units that are trying to come back in a desperate bid to keep them from returning. The Witch Elves managed to rampage my 1 unit of archers before they routed, which is really unfortunate, but nothing I can't deal with. This poor spearman just getting bashed around by Malekith, but once again, Malekith is just taking a bunch of damage. He takes about 100 damage per volley from these Lothern Seaguard, and more damage from the spearmen. Meanwhile, the artillery is really doing an excellent job keeping these units back. These Black Ark Corsairs continuously taking hits, breaking their leadership. They're shattered due to damage. The Dark Shards are broken due to damage. It's really only Malekith left at this point. I've got 1 unit of Dark Shards that's starting to come back over here. He's pulling over towards the Lothern Seaguard. There is 1 unit of Witch Elves. His 2nd unit of Witch Elves is starting to return. But as soon as I notice them, I'll turn the artillery on them as well, while the archers finish chasing off the Dark Shards. And now Malekith is getting absolutely surrounded by spears, which, with only 80 armor, that's not where he wants to be. The Witch Elves start getting hammered with artillery, while Malekith's HP plummets. And that is going to be... These Witch Elves are coming back. That's pretty impressive. But at this point, there really isn't anything the Dark Elves can do. They just don't have enough left. So Malekith starts to waver from all the damage. The Witch Elves take a couple more artillery hits right before they charge in. And before they can quite... Well, they make contact just barely, and they rampage my spearmen. But Malekith has just taken enough arrow fire that army losses kick in. And that's the battle. So, how that went. Obviously, that was not the most ideal High Elf build, but I feel like the pieces more or less did what they were supposed to do. I mismicroed Teclis badly and got him killed without accomplishing what he should have accomplished. That said, he did drop a couple of key spells. That Net right at the beginning was huge. Net is an incredibly powerful spell. Net of Ammontok is always incredibly powerful. And holding up that 1 unit of Hargoneth Executioners, plus the Black Ark Corsairs and the Witch Elves, was hugely important because it delayed the general infantry engagement and basically kept my spearmen alive. If those Executioners and Black Ark Corsairs and Witch Elves had managed to hit my lines simultaneously, my spearmen would have buckled immediately. The archers definitely did a fantastic job. The Lothern Seaguard got kind of shut down because they were targeted very heavily, but the archers were not, and so 87 kills on a unit of archers is nothing to sneeze at, especially because most of them came off of Hargoneth Executioners or Witch Elves. The Dragon Princes, once again, I did not micro them very much, but they definitely did their job. They got into the Dark Shards, crushed them, routed them, did a ton of damage, and even took out a large number of his Cold One Knights, so very impressed by the Dragon Princes. The MVPs of this matchup, though, are definitely the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers. Their kill counts really underestimate the impact they had on the field. Those 2 Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, without the aid of any other unit, absolutely destroyed a unit of Hargoneth Executioners, which you can see here got 0 kills because it never reached combat. They pretty much destroyed the Black Ark Corsairs, also 0 kills, never reached combat, and they took out at least 1 unit of Dark Shards just through fire alone. The Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers are very effective at killing infantry. They're less effective against monsters. They're still okay, but they're not really accurate enough to deal with fast-moving monsters with any efficiency. Against infantry, however, they are beastly. I definitely am going to be working more with these in the future just to see what kinds of situations they can do this well in and where they need a little bit more support. The White Lions, overall, I'm satisfied with them. They kind of did their job. This unit of White Lions, of course, was tossed into a very bad engagement just to sort of hold the line, but it did damage. It did a lot of damage to these Hargoneth Executioners, probably about half. So not an efficient trade, but they did what they had to do. This unit, on the other hand, just kind of got out into the middle of the Dark Shards and started cleaning them up. I used it very badly. It went running off into the back end of nowhere, but it did what it needed to do. The Athilmar Chariot, not sure about it. It could have done better if I'd microed it better, but overall I think it's kind of too big a target for its price. I mean, this thing is 1100. So I think if I were to try it again, I would bring a Terranok Chariot instead, which is a little cheaper and also has a missile attack. But anyway, overall, very satisfied with how the army performed. Obviously, the Spearmen got 0 kills, but it's interesting. I find myself using a lot of basic infantry with the Warhammer 2 factions, and those basic infantry don't get a lot of kills, and I'm satisfied with them anyway, because they're not supposed to get kills. They're supposed to hold units in place for the units that do get kills. So, thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed this battle. The High Elves are actually a very interesting faction to play as, albeit much more defensive, I think, naturally, than I tend to be. So I'll be experimenting with them more in the future, kind of seeing if I can make some offensive high elf builds work, how I can handle their different emphases, as they're very different from the Skaven and from the Lizardmen, which I really enjoy. And they're also different from the factions I played in Warhammer 1, like the Greenskins I played a lot of, the Dwarves I played some of. So it'll be interesting to see those differences in play. If you like this one, look for the next one coming up soon. I'll be doing more High Elves and also more Old World versus New World battles in the near future. So thank you all so much once again, and I will see you in the next one.